What's up guys, Macadii here, and today guys, the semi-finals of the DSL League Season 1, where I am up against AlphaJaw's coach at the Magcargo Tel-Aviv. So if you guys are excited, don't forget to leave a like down below. I would really appreciate it. What we're going to do as always is run through what team he could be bringing, what we're bringing to answer that, and then finally go into the battle from there. So, the squad that Magcargo Tel-Aviv, the team has, is, we've got Manaphy, Togekiss, PZ, let's see, Cloyster, Skuntank, Zebstrika, Charizard X, Hippowdon. Then we've got Bronzong, Sork, and Shaman. So a very spooky little squad there. Lots of definitely big threats. Like Charizard X is always a terrifying thing. I think it's underrated in League, in my opinion. But I know some people say it's terrible, some people say it's good. It's difficult to tell. Cloyster is something I'm very much dreading facing. Last time he won with, what was it? King's Rock Cloyster. So I'm terrified of having that come along, and then I've got to try and deal with that, and get flinched to death, and things like that. Manaphy, as always, is very spooky. Bronzong, I don't know what it is in Leagues. I hate facing Bronzongs. Somehow, they're so bulky, they're so hard for me to take down. And they always just seem to make me cry. So hopefully this one won't be too much of a problem. But he's got, you know, some considerable bulk going on with the Togekiss, the Hippowdon, the Bronzong, Mega Charizard X if it's bulky, and also Shaman if it's bulky. So a lot of bulk, and also Manaphy as well. So lots of potential bulk, but lots of potential offense as well. So a very spooky team to try and beat. So this is the team that I'm going to be bringing. We've got the Leftovers Talonflame with Gale Wings, with Brave Bird, Roost, Bulk Up, and Will-O-Wisp. The Bulk Up set allows me to set up on a few things. I can potentially set up on Togekiss if I need to. I can set up on, let me see, the Hippowdon most notably, because I'm expecting that to come to try and counter Talonflame. Potentially Bronzong as well if it doesn't pack the Toxic. I can also put a lot of pressure on Sork as well. So overall, should be quite a nice sort of cheeky mon to bring. And the bulk up basically gives me more defense and stuff like that, and as well as boosting my attack. And then finally I can start sweeping then with the Brave Bird. Next we got the Gardevoir. This is designed to be bait for Bronzong, so I knew Bronzong was going to be a big pain. So I went for a slightly alternate set. We've got a sub-disable Mega Gardevoir with Hyper Voice, Substitute, Disable, and Pain Split. So this guy's designed to bait in the Bronzong as I sub up. Then the sub's going to be broken by the Gyro Ball. Then I go for Hyper Voice. Then I can disable him the next turn, and then, or even pull up another sub, disable him the next turn, and basically continue the process from there, pain splitting him down, and Hyper Voicing away and stuff like that. So that should be really good fun. Hopefully we will, you know, it will pull through. Next we got the Miltank. I had to bring Defensive Miltank 100%. It's my only check to Mega Charizard X, because if it's bulky DD, Talonflame can't take it on, and all of that stuff. So we've got a Thunder Waving set with Stealth Rock to obviously help stop versus that guy. Return, because it guarantees to break a sub if he's sub DD, if he's just sort of like offensive sub DD. And then finally the Milk Drink to heal up from there. And that's the main role of this guy. Is literally I have to bring it to check Charizard X. It's also a nice little sort of check for like Skuntank, but that's basically about it. And I guess Hippowdon can't do a huge amount to me unless it's got Toxic. So like it was a set that literally I had to bring for 1-1, which is always a real pain if you have to do that. Next we got Rotom-Mow. Rotom-Mow is designed to basically revenge against Manaphy and stuff like that. We can also potentially, you know, put pressure on the Cloyster. He only has the Hippowdon as a electric immunity outside of, I guess, the Zebstrika, but one of our stabs will be hitting the Zebstrika, so I'm not too worried, and I'm not really expecting it with the team that I've got. I mean, he could bring it to try and check Talonflame, but even then, I still outspeed if I'm speedy, you know, Swords Dance, so it doesn't make too much sense to me. And then we've got the trick on there to be able to trick, you know, the Bronzong or the Hippowdon, something like that. And then finally the Thunder Wave, because I just wanted T-Wave on that stupid Charizard, because otherwise I'm in a spot of bother from there. Next we got the Latias. The Latias here is a set designed to basically calm mind up, be able to set up on a few things, and then the combination of Dragon Pulse plus Thunderbolt hits pretty much everything very hard, so that's nice. The Calm Mind is going to help us sort of get that boost going up. I can't, unfortunately, invest in bulk because the Bronzong is going to be able to check me there, whereas if it doesn't have Toxic here, I should be able to take it on 1v1. get those roosts going and, you know, calm mind up and stuff like that to a point where I can finally break him. And then finally, we've got the Zoroark. This is a mixed Zoroark set with Dark Pulse, Sludge Bomb, and Grass Knots. That helps me take out Togekiss. It helps me with the Bronzong. It helps me with the Cloyster, and a few other things, and I guess the Hippowdon as well with the Grass Knots. So this is going to be our Wall Breaker with Sucker Punch as well. So Sucker Punch helps check Charizard. It checks the Cloyster thing, unless it's got Ice Shard, and just in general, just Sucker Punch is just a nice little move to have, especially if it's something like Scarf PZ and things like that. So what we're going to do now is go into the battle, and you can see exactly what happened from then. Okay, so we are in the battle, and as you can see, he decided to bring Mega Charizard, which I knew was going to be an absolute pain, Manaphy, Bronzong, Togekiss, PZ, and then finally the Hippowdon. So a lot of the stuff that I was really worried about to end up coming, so I knew this was going to be a pretty scary team to try and face. So my main aims was try and, you know, weaken the, the Hippowdon, potentially try and get a sweep together with Talonflame, which, you know, I can burn the Bronzong and stuff like that, and just put pressure on quite a few different things. And then obviously keep Miltank healthy to be able to check the Charizard. The good news is Charizard plus Cloyster didn't come, because I was really worried about that, because both Charizard and also my Cloyster check is sitting here, being Miltank. So being able to check both of them would be a lot of stretch for that, but just to have one is, you know, potentially doable. So what I decided to do here was go for the offensive play, lead off with my Zoroark, and unfortunately it doesn't pan out too well for me as he leads off with PZ. And this is one of the things that, like, my biggest flaw with Pokemon Battling is my lead matchup. I always seem to pick the wrong lead. It's very rare that I actually end up with the right one, and it's just something I need to keep working at, and it's something I'm very aware is a real problem, and it's always such a pain because it's such a momentum killer. Like this instance here, like I have very few reliable switches to this. I don't know if this is Specs, I don't know if this is Life Orb. If it's Life Orb, it's going to be doing a huge amount, especially also, as I said, Specs is going to be doing a lot. I might be able to live 2 hits with my Latios if it's Scarf, but it's still a little bit iffy. So I was like, oh goodness, I'm in trouble. So what I decided here would be the best bet is to actually just go for the Sucker Punch here. If he decides to stay in, I get some damage off, and I can find out if it's Life Orb, or at least, you know, potentially what set it is. It was what I would argue a bit of a difficult play, and probably the wrong play to make, considering there's still the Bronzong and stuff like that. He gets the crit here and takes out our Zoroark, but so this is an example of a terrible lead matchup, which was, you know, it was my fault. Like, you know, there's nothing, you know, bad about it from, you know, Alpha's side or anything like that. It was just me. I chose the wrong mon, and I paid for it very, very dearly there. So what I can do now is I can go into my Talonflame and potentially, you know, try and revenge it. So I do just go for the Brave Bird here because I can't afford to do anything else at that point. It baits in the Hippowdon, and now I can go for a cheeky little Will-O-Wisp here. So that's nice. So the plan is starting to come together. I can take a Stone Edge, even when burnt, which is nice. And especially when considering I can Roost up and do all of that stuff. So I'm just going to go for the Roost here. Out comes Manaphy, and I'm like, oh goodness, here we go. Here we go. What I decided to do here is to make the switch. He actually makes the switch as well, and he goes into the Charizard as I go into my Rotom-Mow. So now we've got a really tricky choice. Do I go for the Volt Switch, get out of here and go straight into Miltank, or do I just go straight away for that cheeky little T-Wave that we've got on the Choice Scarf set, and potentially lose Rotom here? I decided, I think he's going to be setting up. I'm going to go for the cheeky Scarf T-Wave here, as he goes the Dragon Dance. That's beautiful. We've T-Wave. The plan has come together to check this Charizard. I go into Miltank here as he gets paralyzed. I just fire for a return here, and it does absolutely nothing. And this highlights why Mega Charizard X is so spooky. I just decide to wear it down a little bit. He gets paralyzed a whole load of times here, and I do apologize for that. So I can go into Gardevoir here as he gets powered again, because my thought was he won't be going for Flare, so he'll be going for Dragon Claw most likely, or even if he's got the Roost. And now what I can do is I can Mega Up and just go for a Hyper Voice here, or go for the sub if I want to. I can't remember which one I ended up doing. I just went for Hyper Voice, did a bit of damage, revealed Spadef Bronzong there. So I was like, okay, here we go. Let's see if this plan works. So pull up the sub, he goes for Stealth Rock. That's alright, fair dues, you know, I can go for a Hyper Voice, you know, start wearing it down. Not the worst thing in the world. He goes for Gyro Ball. So now what we can do is we can go for that Disable, and disable his Gyro Ball, and we can now get another sub up. So that's good plans. But he has the Earthquake. So unfortunately, he did have enough coverage and enough strength to be able to break our sub. So that's really unfortunate. So I'm forced to go into my Talonflame here. I don't know why I didn't go into Latias there. That was probably a bit of a mistake on my part. I guess I thought I could roost up, potentially set up on it, but he does have the Toxic as well. That was it. Because I knew I could take Jarables, I knew I could take EQs, and I was like, he might not have the Toxic here, he might have to pack something else. But unfortunately, he does have the Toxics. That's really unfortunate for me. He's going to go into Togekiss here. I'm going to go for the Bulk Up and start setting up those Bulk Ups and try and see what I can do here. I go for Brave Bird. I get the crit, so I was immensely lucky at this point in the game. He reveals the Heal Bell, and I'm like, oh no, we've lost the burn on Hippowdon, and also the T-Wave on the Mega Charizard. I get another crit. So this is the prime example of lucky and bad here. So he now goes into Manaphy. I'm just like, I just throw out a Brave Bird here. I know Bronzong might come in, but I can't really afford to let the Manaphy set up or do anything cheeky like that. So the Bronzong's back out, and this is why I really wanted... shouldn't have sacked off Zoroark so early, because now Bronzong, just like it always is an absolute pain in the butt. So I've got to try and decide what to do here. Like, what on earth am I going to do? So he switches out here, goes into the Charizard. As I do try and go for the trick here, he realizes just that I'm pretty desperate to try and kill that Bronzong. And it's fine though, I can go into my Miltank and I can check it if I want to. He's lost his Heal Bella, so that's fine by me. I can just throw out a T-Wave here. He goes to the DD. I just throw out the T-Wave here, so that's very good. Now the Charizard is permanently T-Waved, so that makes our lives a lot easier. I go for a turn hip though. This sounds a little bit weird, like why on earth would you go for a turn? This is because, looking at it, the way he played it, it didn't look like it had Roost. Considering I was able to switch out and he, you know, into something else, he could have roosted up at that point, but he just went for an attack. It just made, in my gut, I was like, okay, so he's not got Roost, because you would expect to Roost rather than attack at that point, considering how low it was. So at this point here, I was like, right, I could either return here, kill the Charizard, or what I could do is I could throw my rocks out here. If he decides to switch with the Charizard, it dies on re-entry. And then if he decides to kill me, I can always go into something else and revenge it. So I decided to throw my rocks out here because of the fact he doesn't have Roost. But unfortunately, at this point here, he does throw out the Roost. So he could have killed the Charizard. It was just the way that it was played completely threw me. Like there were so many instances where it would have made much more sense just to play it safe and Roost, considering my Miltank wasn't doing enough, but he was, you know, he went for the attack instead. So that was definitely interesting. As I'm just going to let Miltank get down here, and what I can do now is go into my Latias and potentially threaten this guy out. I just go for the Dragon Pulse here. I wasn't sure if he was going to switch or not, and I figured it was my best bet from there. But it's looking like the Bronzong is going to be the death of us, because there isn't basically enough that I can do to be able to take on this Bronzong. He can Toxic all of me, Toxic Stall me and stuff like that, which is going to be a real pain. I just throw off a Leaf Storm, so we're lowering differential, we're taking out Hippowdon, but our Rotom's going to be our key. That's the only way to really take out that Bronzong. Out comes PZ, revealing the fact that he is probably Scarf here, so I have to sack something. It has to be Gardevoir, unfortunately. And it's basically down to whether we can get the setup together with Latias, and it's not looking good at this point. So he does go back into Bronzong. I hate Bronzong. I just go for the T-Wave Thunderbolt here because I can't really afford with the sand to be able to take it on. And I just go for a last-ditch attempt, and unfortunately, with the amount of damage that it's doing, and the Sandstorm, and the fact that I'm not really hitting it hard enough, and the fact he has Toxic as well, means that I am in a very big amount of trouble. So I go for T-Bolt here, and as you can see, it just doesn't do enough. As he's able to Gyro Ball me, I can get one more Thunderbolt off to potentially allow my Rotom to come through, but with what he's got left and the fact that he's still got Scarf PZ, basically it is just game from here, and it's just trying to get a little bit more differential, not that it makes any difference at this point. So I go for Volt Switch, it doesn't even kill it, and he's able to take me out from there. So unfortunately we are out of the DSL playoffs. I do apologise, we made it to semis, which isn't bad at all really, but it's just Bronzong. They screw in my head. Like, even though they don't have reliable recovery, they only have leftovers, they're still such a pain all of the time to my teams. Maybe it's just my playstyle and stuff like that. But anyway, I do apologise that we didn't make it through, but I had a lot of fun with the team. Towards the end, though, I was finding that the team needed a lot more, like, instant offense. That there was a lot of setup, like Calm Mind Latias and Swords Dance, Talonflame and stuff like that. But there wasn't any, like, immediate hard-hitting things, like in the UAL, where I've got, like, Cure and Beat. You just come in, you smack stuff around, and then you're happy, basically. So there were definitely flaws with that draft, but it was really good to show me what I needed to do to improve them, and then sort of taking things from my DSL draft, my UAL draft, and bringing that into my DSL Season 2, my off-season draft, was definitely really useful. I don't know, my playstyle is just constantly adapts when it comes to league battles, and I'm leaning more and more towards power and stuff like that rather than bulk, and it's just trying to let my draft catch up and also let me develop my playstyle basically. But anyway, I hope you guys did enjoy the match and all of that stuff. If you did, don't forget to leave a like, I would really appreciate it, and I will see you guys at the next one. Macadii out.